Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Formula One Roundtable Podcast here on YouTube. It is your boy Anthony once again joined by my
Jedi.
um, and it has been. I'm not gonna say it's been an interesting month of racing. There's about a single good race a month, but um, another month of racing has come and gone here in the wacky world of Formula One. How are you doing, my friend Jedi?
I've been doing really well. Like you said, a very boring month for racing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, not much more to say about that. Anyways, let's get straight into recapping the month of April. The Japanese Grand Prix started off the month, and it was interesting. Yuki Tsunoda, in his first qualifying session, makes it through to Q2, but he will go no further as he drops out P15 in his first race for Red Bull Racing. But it is not all doom and gloom for Red Bull, as Max Verstappen, with the pole lap of the gods, beats both McLarens with a 1:26.98 and secures pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix. Next day, a race day, here in Japan, Max Verstappen manages to hold the lead as the lights go out over Lando Norris into turn 1. 21 laps come by, nothing interesting happens. Max and Norris both pit on the same lap. Coming out of the pits side by side, little Lando goes off the track into the grass, and Verstappen holds the lead. Another 20 or so laps go by, still absolutely nothing. On lap 53, the checkered flag comes out, and Max Verstappen claims his first victory of the year over Lando Norris. Norris and Piastri would join him on the podium. Jedi, this wasn't a very interesting race weekend, was it?
No, not at all. The only interesting thing that happened all weekend was doing spinning into a wall and Lando almost ending his race by trying to overtake Verstappen out of the pit lane. Other than that, Verstappen had an amazing race. It was should I say dominant? Would dominant be the right word?
He never really drove away from
But
Norris or Piastri.
he put that car to work.
He did everything he needed to do. It was a very, very strong weekend from Max Verstappen. That pole lap was something.
Exactly. So that car, like I've always been saying, it's not even a top. I wouldn't say it's a top 3 car. I
Uh,
could be wrong.
I'd say it's the fourth best car, but it can be the best car on some weekends, but often the times it's either second or third.
Exactly.
On average, though, I'd say it's probably like the third or fourth fastest car. Okay. The following week, the F1 circuits would rock up in Bahrain for the Bahrain GP. Q1, Alex Albon. He gets eliminated. But should he have been? No, it turns out he should not, as Nico Hulkenberg got his lap deleted, wrongfully eliminating the tie driver from qualifying. In Q3, who takes pole but the Aussie, as Oscar Piastri beats George Russell to pole with a 1:29.8. Norris only P6. However, George would not start on the front row as him and teammate Kimi Antonelli received grid drops after qualifying. On race day, would Oscar hold on? Let's find out. Lap 1, Oscar holds into turn 1 with George overtaking Charles into the corner. Lando makes a fantastic start and jumps into P3, but it turns out little Lando was being a bit naughty as he gets a 5-second penalty for a jumped start. Lap 5, Kimi Räikkönen, wrong Kimi. Kimi Antonelli makes a fantastic dive bomb into turn 1, overtaking Sainz. 4 laps later, Lewis Hamilton follows through battling with Carlos through sector 2 before getting by into turn 11. Yuki Tsunoda would get by a turn later. Lap 11, Lando is the first driver into the pits, pitting early to try and mitigate the time lost from the penalty with an undercut. By the time the pit cycle came to an end on lap 18, with Lewis and Charles double stacking, Lando had a fairly sizable undercut. However, Lewis and Charles' strategy would pay off, as on lap 22, Lewis would pass Max Verstappen on the fresher tires. 3 laps later, Charles gets by Lando with a very nice move into turn 1, as Lewis also worked his way past Kimi into turn 1. But however, on lap 32, Ferrari's strategy came across a hiccup, safety car. I can't really remember what happened. I think it was debris of some sort. 4 laps later, green flag, Piastri holds into turn 1. Lewis and Charles battle Lando. Everybody maintains positions. Also, under that safety car, George pit onto soft tires. Lap 38, George Russell's car. Electrical issues lead to the DRS opening. However, he gave the time back. Lap 52, after several laps of battling, Lando Norris finally manages to overtake Charles Leclerc and retake P3. And on lap 57, Oscar Piastri takes the checkered flag for his second win of the 2025 season. And further back, George Russell, valiant. His car honestly looks like a malfunctioning flashlight at this point, but he somehow brings the car home in P2, holding off Lando Norris. Further back, Verstappen makes a fairly good overtake on Gasly for P6. This was a very, very strong race. The podium, Piastri, Russell, and Norris. So I believe this was the best race of the month. Though, Jedi, you said you didn't really remember much of it before we had this conversation.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really remember too much of it, but now that you explain it, I still, piece by piece. That was the race I knew Piastri won. Did I get that right? Yeah. And honestly, I was kind of proud. I felt like a proud dad when I heard Piastri won that race, because I'm like, thank you. Someone in McLaren is actually winning these races in that car, because Lando has been pretty disappointing for the last few races. Like, he hasn't really impressed. Like, he was leading the championship at one point, but now look, Oscar's been the one to keep the consistent podium like flow. So look at it now, he's leading the championship, and hopefully that continues on till further into the season.
This was a very strong weekend for Oscar. He was pretty untouchable the whole weekend. I kind of hoped that George would be able to challenge him, but Mercedes' car wasn't really there. And Lando was just kind of, again, that P6 qualifying did not help his cause. Max was nowhere. This was probably Red Bull's weakest weekend of the season. Max got a P6, and I'm pretty sure Yuki finished 8th, 9th? It was somewhere around there. Which means that Yuki Tsunoda became the first Red Bull driver since, I think it was, Mexico? No, it wasn't Mexico. Late. Felt like it had been longer than I realized before since a second Red Bull driver had put the car in the points. I was very proud of Yuki for that. Anyways, moving on to the last race of the month in Saudi Arabia. Lando Norris qualifying we jump straight to Q3. Lando Norris on his first run, puts the car in the wall. Lando really, really starting to earn that bottle nickname. Later on, after the final runs, Max Verstappen does it again. Max takes pole from Oscar and George Russell. Is there anything this man can't do? Race day. The very next day, lap 1, well, it turns out there's one thing that Max can't do, and that is take turn 1 like a normal person, as he cuts the corner and to keep the lead after getting a worse start than Oscar Piastri. However, things after this go immediately into a safety car as Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda take each other out of the race. Lap 4, green flag, restart. Max holds the lead. However, he is given a 5-second time penalty for cutting the corner and gaining an advantage. Lap 13, Lando Norris overtakes Lewis Hamilton before the DRS zone, and Lewis flies back by him on the straight. Lap 14. Oh my god, it's a repeat of the very last lap. Lando overtakes again right before the DRS zone, and Lewis goes flying right on back by. Lap 15, after Lando's engineer finally tells him not to pass him before the DRS zone, Lando Norris passes Lewis Hamilton, and this time he gets to keep it. Lap number 19, Norris continues his charge up through the field as he passes Andrea, Kimi, don't call me Raikkonen, Antonelli. Lap 20, Oscar pits and to undercut Max. Lap 22, Max pits. Max pits and serves his penalty. Oscar takes the lead. Lando and Charles stay out to run long. Lap 35, Lando finally pits, becoming the last driver on track to come in. Lap 38, George Russell, who pit early, starts to fade as Charles Leclerc takes P3 from him. Lap 41, George's fade continues through the field as Lando takes P4 from him. George would continue to fade on a badly worn set of tires throughout the final few laps of this race, as his pace really fell off. Kimi was catching him near the end. From what I heard over the radio, George was saying something about the tire was like coming apart. And on lap 50, the checkered flag comes out, and Oscar Piastri takes his third win of the season and third in 4 races, as he takes the lead of the championship from his teammate Lando Norris. Joining him on the podium, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. This was a decent race.
I think Lando's, I guess, what was it, P10? P10?
He went from P10 to P4.
I mean, I don't want to sound too desensitized because I've seen Lewis go from, P20 to P1 in Brazil?
Yeah, not to mention all those times that Verstappen went from 15th to 1st in Belgium.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to sound too impressed, but I think for the fact that it was in Saudi Arabia was, pretty decent because that track is just flat out 99% of the time. So even getting past people, it's a bit of a hassle.
There is one passing zone on the entire track, and it's into turn 1.
I mean, you can also say the last DRS section.
Yeah, but if you pass into the final corner, then you'll just get passed back with DRS into turn 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess you're right. The main straight is the only real passing zone.
Yeah, unless you're Oscar and who did he pass?
Hamilton again.
Yeah,
and it was a crazy overtake.
Yeah, it was a really good move. Yeah,
he does it. It's the second time he's done it. Actually, he did it the first time in Australia.
Yes.
Now he does it, and he does it in this extreme fashion too.
Yeah, Lewis has to get tired of seeing that McLaren near him because he's not going to give him any room.
At all.
But yes, I'd say it was a good race. It wasn't anything really special, The only pass for the pass for the lead. I'm pretty sure the first pass for the lead all season took place in under safety car, but or not under safety car in the pit lane. But yeah, I don't know. It was it was a fun race. I don't think it was terrible. Um, we don't do ratings on here, but I'd say that this was about a 6 out of 10, where Bahrain was more of a 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's it for this. Honestly, better than I gave it credit for a month of racing. Um, but yes, let's move into the news. We have 3 topics that we want to look over. Which one do you want to go through first?
Uh, I guess we can talk about the future of Verstappen and Red Bull.
Okay, so this has been a topic that has been going on for a few years at this point. Honestly, people speculating on Max Verstappen's future, and I think it's especially been brought up a lot this season because the car's like pretty bad, and Max seems he does seem frustrated with the team. I don't think he was particularly happy that they fired Lawson as early on as they did, but I don't think he's making a move till 2026, or like I think that's at the earliest. And for as much as people keep seeming to gas up this Mercedes engine program, I haven't seen any evidence that it's a miles ahead of everybody else. I think this is just people extrapolating from fucking straws. So I don't know. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there is no information on Max's future, and the media just needs to stop pestering the fucking guy.
Yeah, I don't think Max is gonna be going anywhere for like a while. Like unless that Red Bull gets any slower, I think he's gonna be in that team. Unless like it's a very broad statement to say, but like I would say Alonso retires or something, and then Max goes to Aston Martin.
Like, I could see that
Like
happening, but continue.
like I think Aston Martin would be like especially because Adrian Newey's there, and most of the Red Bull team have gotten pretty much split. That's what I think. Like it would be just him to Aston Martin, and hopefully Aston Martin can curate a very good car for him.
So,
Because if not, oh, wait, what?
no, finish what you're saying. I'll
Because if
comment after.
not, I think he'll just retire from F1 completely and go into like WEC and race GT cars or even the LMD8 cars.
Yeah, I could see that happening. So, I've heard a lot over the past few years about Max to Mercedes. I don't see it happening, in all honesty. I think the Aston Martin moves far more likely. Like, I know Toto really likes Max Verstappen, but Toto also has 2 fantastic drivers of his own. Okay, so yeah, like, Mercedes has 2 very good drivers who could be with that team for years to come. And, like, we know that George is a championship caliber driver, and that and that he still has a lot to prove. Like, I can see George being around for like another 5 to 10 years. I think Kimi Antonelli is going to be very good. I don't really know what his ceiling is because he's not there yet. I'm going to be honest, I don't really even think we know George's ceiling because I still think he could get better. But, like, yes, you could get Max Verstappen, but I don't think Max Verstappen's going to be around for another 5 to 10 years. I think he's going to be around for like another year or two, maybe win another couple titles, but I think by 2030 he's going to be in the WEC.
I'm 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 confident in that. Honestly, I see it happening. He's already been doing a lot of testing in that Aston Martin GT3 car that he's with his team. So I kind of see it happening.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this whole Max Verstappen future conversation is just a bit overblown, especially because he's not leaving Red Bull before the end of 2025. he'd be kind of dumb to leave and sign a long-term deal right before a regulation cycle. That's just me.
Yeah, good.
Okay, moving on to our second bit of news. The Lando Norris era. It's already over. Or at least that's what I believe. Because before the season, um, oh god, what's his fucking name? I can't remember the McLaren CEO's name.
Zach Brown.
Zach Brown was hyping us all up. He was telling us this is the era of Lando Norris. And yeah, it just hasn't happened. Like, I guess this segment is more just talking about the current state of Lando Norris because he doesn't seem confident. He seems like he's letting the pressure get to him like every weekend. And it's funny because I remember after the Australian Grand Prix wrapped up, I'm like, that was a fantastic drive from Lando Norris. Let's see if he can repeat it. And he has not been able to repeat it in the week since. It's kind of depressing almost.
Yeah, the Lando hasn't been delivering as much as he should be in that car. Uh, it's disappointing. It's disappointing to me and to most people. Like, I think ever since that encounter with Lewis Hamilton back in 2024, a lot of people have turned on Lando. Like it was nice seeing people wanting to root, like wanting Lando to win, but it's like after that event, like everybody is like hating on Lando. Like the switch was ridiculous.
What happened to what happened with Lando and Lewis again last year? I'm gonna be honest.
So Lewis said to Lando, like, you guys have a pretty quick car, and Lando replied saying like, "Oh, you had the fastest car 7 years ago," or something like that, and that,
Yes.
that little thing had people like, bro.
Listen, like there was a lot of incidents and moments last year where Lando just burned a lot of the goodwill he had. That I think the famous moment where he basically fucking just said, "Oh yeah, well Lando or not Lando, Max got lucky at fucking uh what was it, Brazil?" That pissed me off. But there were a lot of moments last year where Lando like pissed me off. If it wasn't for the fact that he was driving like an idiot on the track, blowing wins that he easily should have gotten, his horrible starts, he was running his mouth constantly. It just he I don't want to sound like I hate the guy because I'm sure he's a nice dude in person, but if he is not the most frustrating driver on the fucking grid to try and watch race, because like the guy has talent, that's not really in doubt. But at every point in his career that I've watched, and this is including back in F2, because I watched a little bit of F2 that year, he has always found a way to fucking choke when things look like he's gonna fucking succeed. Whether it's screaming at his engineer in Russia, or the million blown starts, or crashing in qualifying last week, he's not that good. He doesn't have that killer instinct that some of the better drivers on the grid have.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Again, he's a solid driver though. Though as I think he peaks at about a really good second driver. You know what? I think he could peak at about a Nico Rosberg level. I think he could win a world championship if the stars align perfectly.
And that's if the stars align perfectly.
Okay, so moving on to my mom's predictions for the upcoming month. I put them in the chat, but I will read them out for you. So in Miami, my mom believes that it will be George Russell's weekend and that he will finally get his first win of the season with a pole to win performance with a Piastri with the two McLarens behind him of Piastri and Lando Norris. Emilia Romagna, Charles is going to go from pole to win with Max and George falling behind. And then Monaco, my mom believes the same thing. Charles is going to go 2 in a row with Max and George behind. I don't fully know if Ferrari's just going to magically win 2 races in a row, but yeah, this is just my mom being a Ferrari fan, isn't it? Okay, and we are moving on to the race predictions and previews for the month of May 2025. We are started here with the Miami GP. I think it's going to be the weekend that this podcast comes out. So some quick general stats for this race. It is the third running of the Miami GP already. 19 turns and 57 laps. The first 3 winners of this race: Max Verstappen, and Lando Norris. 2024, it was a sprint weekend. Max won the sprint. He would then go on to get pole with a 127.2. However, he would not win in the race because due to an ill-timed safety car, Lando Norris would take his first victory of his career by 7.6 seconds over the Dutchman. And Charles Leclerc would finish P3. Okay, now we can move into our predictions.
Alright, bet.
Okay, I will let you go first.
For my pole position at Miami, it's going to be Piastri.
Yeah, I can see that.
So for like the top 3 in that race, I think it's going to be Verstappen, Piastri, and Norris.
Yeah. Okay, so for my Miami pole, I went with the other McLaren. I think Lando Norris is finally going to get off the snide and collect his second pole position of the season. However, for the race, I don't see it going as well for the Brit. Oscar Piastri is going to win his 3rd race in a row. Verstappen's going to chase him home, and Lando is going to finish 3rd for his 3rd or 4th podium of the season. But yeah, I think that it's either going to be a bad start or McLaren's going to fuck up his strategy. Okay.
There's going to be a strategy fuck up. I'm calling it.
Next, we are moving on to the Emilia-Romagna GP. Some quick stats. 31st running. If you count the 26 San Marino GP that came before. This is the 5th under the Emilia-Romagna title, though. 19 turns and 63 laps at the circuit of Imola. The last 5 winners: Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and then in 2006, Michael Schumacher. And the 2024 race stats: Max Verstappen got a pole with a 1:14.7. He got this pole because I'm pretty sure he got a toe off the back of Kevin Magnussen. First, and he would take that and go on to win, but it was a very tight race, as in the final stint, Lando Norris came charging back. Max would win by less than a second, one of the closest gaps all season. And Charles Leclerc would finish P3. Okay, let's alternate. I'm going to start off for Imola. I think Oscar Piastri is going to get pole position, and he's going to convert that into yet another victory this month with Russell and Norris also on the podium, 2nd and 3rd.
For Imola, Verstappen's gonna put it on pole somehow. For the top 3, it's gonna be Piastri, Norris, and this is very random, but I'm hoping it happens. Hamilton. I want to see Hamilton on a podium. Especially in Imola.
Listen, if there are 2 places that I want to see Lewis get on the podium, it's Imola and Monza. Like, he's gone through all the bad parts of being a Ferrari driver. I want him to get it. I want him to at least have the good parts. The final race of the month takes us to the Principality of Monaco for the Monaco GP. This is the 81st running of the most famous race in Formula 1. 19 turns and 78 laps. The last 5 race winners: Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, and then Lewis Hamilton in 2019, as of course the 2020 race was cancelled. Last year, Charles Leclerc finally got the monkey off his back and took victory on his home streets. He set pole on the Saturday with a 1:10.2 in the most exciting qualifying session of the year. And then in probably the most dull race I've ever witnessed in my life, Charles Leclerc would go on to win by 7.1 seconds over Oscar Piastri and his teammate Carlos Sainz. This isn't even the best race on the day. This goes out. This race happens on the same day as the Indy 500 for IndyCar and the Coca-Cola 600 for NASCAR, and like, to me, it's always been the least interesting. But it could be worse. Okay, you can go first for Monaco.
Monaco, Norris is going to put it on pole. I think that's pretty realistic.
Yeah.
Top 3, it's going to be Norris winning, Piastri second, Verstappen third.
Okay, so for Monaco, very realistic, but for Monaco, I went with something a little bit out the box. I think this is going to be a big Ferrari weekend. Leclerc on pole, and then in the race, it's going to be Leclerc, followed home by Lewis Hamilton, with Oscar Piastri in third. I think that car is just going to connect with the track again, and we're going to have another very, very good Ferrari weekend in Monaco. Ferrari won too.
That's I don't even know. Ferrari 1-2 in Monaco?
That car was really good in Monaco last year. They came awfully close to a 1-2. Now, the problem is Sainz only finished third last year, and I'd say Sainz is a bit better of a driver at this point in his career than Lewis, and we don't really know how the car is going to go around Monaco this year, but it's a prediction. I don't have to be perfectly right.
Mind you, Sainz has been out. I think Sainz has been above Lewis Hamilton in a few races, I think.
He's qualified ahead of him. I don't think he's finished ahead of him in anything this year. But yes. I'd say that all of your predictions are pretty realistic, and I'd say, yes, my last prediction is definitely kind of hopium, but like, if it's gonna happen, if Ferrari's gonna win anywhere, their most convincing win last year was Monaco. So I believe in Ferrari, at least at Monaco.
Ferrari 1. I'm just like on the fact that Ferrari 1-2 in Monaco is just. I don't know. You know what? I actually want you to be right in this one. I actually do want you to be right. But I think Lewis is just not going to put that car up there.
Do you think that... Okay, so what exactly do you think the ridiculous part of this is? Leclerc winning or Hamilton finishing second?
Say that question one more time.
Okay, I'm just saying. What do you think the more ridiculous part of this is? Leclerc winning the race or Hamilton finishing second? Because, like, you don't seem to have a problem with the idea that Leclerc could win this race. You seem to really be like, oh, I don't know about Lewis being up there.
I don't know. It's just Lewis is not going to put that car through its paces in Monaco. Especially in that Ferrari. He's kind of struggling.
No, he's definitely struggling.
Like, so, and Monaco is already a tricky track enough, and it's like, it takes so much finesse around there. So it's like, dude, you're not one with the car, and I just can't expect you to put that car up there.
Like, Imola isn't an easy track either, and you think that he's going to get a podium there, so.
But that's a more open track. That's more racetrack than Monaco.
The problem with Imola is there isn't a lot of runoff. It's more of a tarmac. A lot of it's like grass and gravel runoff. So if you make a slight mistake, you're going off.
Yeah. But Monaco is to hit the wall and you're dead.
Yeah, but again, if you go off, you're not gonna finish third.
That's true.
But predictions aside, I think both of ours, there's a decent shot that either of our Monaco predictions happen. But yes, that is it for another. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know how to describe this podcast. Another. That's it for another month's podcast. Thanks everybody for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Yes.